Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Fairfax. We hope you enjoy this sermon from a recent Sunday worship service.
Most of you know I started doing yoga last year, and I love it. I don't do it all that well, but I do love it. One of the things I love most about it is at the end, when they do something called Shavasana. Some of you have done yoga before. Or the quiet meditative part when my teacher does a brief meditation that's supposed to have us be in that present moment, in that place in our bodies, in our minds quiet, and just truly be present. Well, let me tell you, quieting my mind to be truly present, not such an easy thing to do. I'll give you a couple examples of the thoughts that enter my mind when I'm trying to be a quiet presence. I'm hungry. Manhattan Bagel is just next door. Let's see. We'll have enough time before I have to get to work. Darn, I forgot to make that phone call. Oh, shoot. Is that meeting at 10:30 this week or next week? Wait, do I have cereal at home? Oh, man, I think the bananas are too ripe. Oh, no, I'm going to be late again. That happens on a frequent basis. But I will say, thankfully, there are times when I really can shut out everything and just be present in my body, lying flat on the mat on a hard floor. I can't fall asleep in my bed at night, but I can fall asleep on a hard floor on a mat. And I'm amazed at how present I can truly feel. Now, I'm not asking all of you, or in fact any of you, to join me in yoga. But the importance of occasionally taking a break from all the various inputs that are literally jockeying for a position to enter into our minds can be enormously important for our mental health and our spiritual health. Now, this is not a self-help sermon. I'm not a therapist, and I don't even play one on TV. I am a human being, and I'm a human being who is quite familiar with the concept of spinning. I have heard story after story in the recent days of people lying awake at night with existential and real worries about the world. And it isn't just the world, it is a whole bevy of topics, from incredibly personal to understandably global. And I freely admit there is a great deal about which to worry. Whether political, local, national, or job-related, or intensely personal, our minds can churn at an incredible rate. Often when we are most open to what worries us, it can be a practice for many of us to go from one thing to another down a very deep well of fear and anxiety that at times can lead to worst-case scenarios. Now, here's the thing about worst-case scenarios. They are really just scenarios. We don't know if they're going to happen, and frankly, at times, it would be hard enough to prepare for them. But part of what we as a congregation have been practicing since just before the pandemic is not to prepare for the worst-case scenario, but how to hold on to our principles and our values and still be prepared to be adaptable and nimble in these difficult times of rapid change. And certainly now, when the most likely rapid changes are not the ones we would necessarily approve of. And to me, there's a difference between being present and fiddling while Rome burns. Another thing I've noticed is the use of presence as a method of avoidance. Pardon the expression, but screw what's going on in the world. I am just going to live here in the present moment. Again, I certainly understand how that could be a coping mechanism in days that feel overwhelming and antithetical to the way we wish to see the world, but it can also serve to remove us from the world, not a tact we as Unitarian Universalists often take. Presence for us in these days, perhaps, is more than just the kind of presence I strive for while on the floor with my yoga class. Perhaps presence is an awareness of the present moment. What's happening with our bodies, with our minds, our breathing, and that quiet connection to all that is in us, between us, and beyond us. And perhaps more than that, presence is also an awareness of an incredible wonder, joy, beauty, and challenges that we live with. The ability to hold multiple truths at the same time. I look at the beauty of this tree behind me, and I come in every day to look at the beauty of this tree. And I am filled with such deep joy, and I am also totally aware of what's going to happen on January 20th. And I feel the warmth and depth and love of this congregation, and I am incredibly comforted. Many things, multiple truths. If we spend too much time consumed with things for which we worry, especially things we cannot control, the chances of missing the things that are so meaningful and fulfilling increase. I will continue to talk about the 4 S's: sanctuary, solidarity, safety, and sacrifice in the days to come. And I'm sure that we will discuss and work through various scenarios that may call for various aspects of one or more of these things. But I hope that we do not get lost in the scenarios. The hope is that we as a congregation, as citizens, as human beings, maintain our ability to find the kind of connection being present in any moment can bring. Being present in the moment is also a vital practice for appreciating that which is present in us. The family, the friendships, the joy of sharing the holiday season, a season where the dreams of humankind often turn to a world filled with hope and awe and mystery and wonder. It's hard when spinning to be open to awe, mystery, and wonder. And although Unitarian Universalists don't have a shared agreement of concepts like the holy, the divine, or even awe, mystery, and wonder, especially in this time of year, being in those quiet moments of presence can help us be open to whatever you experience these things to be. To quote author, activist, and philosopher Howard Thurman, there must be, always remaining in every person's life, some place for the singing of angels. Some place for that which in itself is breathlessly beautiful, and by inherent prerogative, throwing all the rest of life into new and creative relatedness. Something that gathers up in itself all of the freshets of experience from drab and commonplace areas of living and glows in one bright light of penetrating beauty and meaning, and then passes. The commonplace is shot through with new glory. Old burdens become lighter and deep, and ancient wounds lose much of their old hurting. A crown is placed over our heads that for the rest of our lives we are trying to grow tall enough to wear, despite all the crassness of life. Despite all the hardness, despite all the harsh discords of life, life is saved by the singing of the angels. In these days and these times where our minds are besieged by significant and understandable worries, I wish for you the singing of the angels. I wish for all of us the experience where the commonplace is shot through with new glory, old burdens become lighter, and deep and ancient wounds lose much of their old hurting, and a place that is breathlessly beautiful and by an inherent prerogative throws all the rest of life into a new and creative relatedness. This is the way for us to get through now and for what is to come. by fighting the spinning with this presence in moments that don't disregard the realities of the world, but don't also dwell in them. A place where we can find those angels singing of the greater things that tie us together. Those angels singing of the moments of meaning that fill our hearts, that hear the angels singing in the place where we take the necessary time and energy to intentionally notice the present moment when love surrounds us. In spite of the crassness of life, despite of all the hardness of life, despite all of the harsh discords of life, we have the power, both individually and together, to live a life that is saved not by the endless working of every possible scenario, but by being open to the presence, the possibilities, and the life-giving force of the singing of the angels. May that be so, and amen.
Thank you for listening to this sermon from the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Fairfax. To listen to more sermon podcasts, go to uucf.org/worship-services and scroll down to sermon podcasts.